What's up, guys? That guy with the pencil here, and let's chat about My Hero Academia and its villains. Not and its villains, specifically its villains. Because one of the main things I like about My Hero Academia is its villains. I think that's the best aspect of the series, hands down. Mainly because the villains do two great things. They tie very well into the world itself, and they tie very well into the heroes. Most of them. And I think that's very difficult to do from a writing standpoint. I feel like it's difficult to have one of your main antagonists, whether it be for an arc or for a narrative, to tie into the world you established without really thinking on it and really making sure that everything works back into doing it. So I'm going to break this video into three sections. Let's talk about my favorite type of villains that are purely about the society that came from it, were born of it, and it's literally the world's fault that they exist. Then second, villains that not only are caused because of the society, but are working to control it. And then let's talk about both. Now you'll see what I mean when I get to it. So first off, let's talk about Gentle. Gentle is one of the best villains, if not my favorite villain. Y'all saw, he is my favorite villain. The reason I like Gentle so much is because he is purely society born. Now what do I mean? I mean that Gentle could not exist unless the criteria of this world specifically was met. If you removed the hero system in its entirety, Gentle would not exist. Only because he wanted to be a hero so badly that he risked everything only to lose it all. I think that's solid. I think that's fantastic. And I think more villains need to be born like that. Because the reason Gentle is so amazing, at least to me, My Hero Academia has a lot of villains. Countless villains. So many villains that I don't know the name of all of them. And I can't help that. And the reason I think villains like Gentle, and there are similar villains to Gentle, there are, in my mind, any of the monstrous or non-human looking villains, they're a Gentle product. Anything Gentle product, I mean, like they were made in the society the same way that Gentle was made of the society. They're all the same. And any villain, anyone like Shinso is someone who could easily become a villain just because of how his quirk is. Because his quirk is not given the traditional hero function, despite his dreams of being a hero, he would become Gentle if not given the proper tutelage and luck that he had, such as Aizawa being his teacher and being able to get into UA General Studies, and having the capacity to train and graduate. Gentle, here, before I even move back to Gentle, another person who could have become a villain, Midoriya. I feel like Midoriya easily could have fallen down that path if he wasn't lucky. If he did not meet All Might, Midoriya would have become vengeful. And I wouldn't blame him. I don't blame Gentle for doing what he has to do either. Because he realized something. He realized that the world is not in his favor because the world simply just didn't care for him. He was not prepared enough to become a hero. At that time, he was not given time to. If he didn't become a hero, he failed the exam too many times, and he wasn't given a chance to help people. He had one mistake and was destroyed for it. Sure. Did that guy, I think he died. I'm pretty sure that guy in Gentle's backstory died. But the main thing I have with that is without the world itself, Gentle would not have been produced, and what Gentle became only shows what would happen if the world was different. Because think about it. Gentle was a competent enough villain to grow on his own with no training at all. No training, no connections, no nothing. He was a competent fighter. He was smacking up Midoriya for the majority of that fight. He was styling on Midoriya, who is arguably, even at that point in the narrative, one of the strongest characters in the verse. Even at that limited standpoint he was at. Because he was getting upgraded. He had the air pressure. That Midoriya was already approaching the Midoriya that we're at now in the current war arc of the manga. And Gentle was able to do that on his own because he was given time, and he was given reason, and he was given a lust for vengeance. That was only caused from the society itself. I think that's what's so good about My Hero Academia and this type of villain. That a villain like Gentle can only happen because of My Hero Academia, and a person like Midoriya can identify directly with Gentle. And that's one of the things that I feel like My Hero Academia struggles with. Because I can't praise My Hero Academia just in total. Like, I can't say its villain structure is perfect. Because the main issue I have is that the villains rarely connect right back into the heroes. There are, and I don't mean just like interaction wise, but I mean background wise. Like, I believe Gentle was the best and probably forever going to be the best and most personal villain that Midoriya is going to have. Because They literally could have walked down the same path. I can literally see that. Without hesitation, I can see Midoriya fall into darkness, if not given the chance by All Might. And no other villain has that. Shigaraki, Midoriya, I've looked through it. I've looked through it because we're in a point where they're fighting now in this weird astral plane. I tried to find where Shigaraki and Midoriya have interacted. And outside of those 2 times before this, they've never interacted before. So that doesn't work out. Then their backstories don't line anyway. It's just nothing works with Shigaraki versus Midoriya specifically. All for One and All Might is another good relationship because they tie directly into each other backstory-wise and conflict-wise and quirk-wise. Everything works for them. Though we didn't get enough of All for One. But that's enough talking about the gentle type of villain, why I think it's fantastic, why I think it works so well in the world, and that it's honestly the best kind of villain that Horikoshi can produce. Let's move on to a villain like Overhaul, and why I enjoy him so much. So Overhaul, he's the type of villain that was made because he sees the weakness of the society. Quirks are at the same time good and bad, and the narrative establishes that very early on, because due to the existence of quirks, since everyone doesn't have one, that's already a bad thing, because there are people like Midoriya. There are countless people like Midoriya. 28% of the population was like Midoriya. So think about that. That's like 7 billion people. 7 billion, what's 20% of 7 billion? Let me see. 20% of 7 billion would actually be 20% of 7 billion. Yeah, I'm doing it. I can't do it off the top of my head. 20% of 7 billion would be like 1.4 billion people of the population not having arms. That's basically what not having a quirk is. No matter how minor it is. Look at how Midoriya was treated simply for the fact that he didn't have a quirk. So Overhaul noticed that. He realized that hole in the society, that massive gaping hole. I was just like, oh, I can exploit this. And the way he used Eri to do that, he used quirks to destroy quirks while he wielded a quirk himself against something he hated, because he hated quirks. And that's one of the greatest things that I like about Overhaul himself. That's why he's a top 3 villain for me, because he also rips into society, tears it out, sees that part he wants to use, and tries to use it. The reason the Overhaul type of villain for me, and honestly Overhaul is pretty unique in the sense that very few other villains actually attack that specific part. They quirks themselves, that's not an issue that's commonly tackled in the My Hero Academia world, despite it being a major part of it. It's more so the social inequality that's born of quirks that's causing problems in terms of the entire world. But the great thing about Overhaul's type of villain, and the great thing about My Hero Academia villains in turn, just in general, would be the fact that their quirks tie very, very well into their characters. Because Overhaul's quirk matches how he wants to see the world. He wants to take a hold of it, destroy it, and remake it in his own image. So I like that balance. I like the way that his quirk feeds into him and he feeds into his quirk. It's really, really balanced. It's really, really perfect in my mind, because there's really no better way you could write that. Overhaul is the perfect quirk for Overhaul because he wants to overhaul the society. Yes, I used Overhaul 3 times in one sentence. No, I don't make any sense. But the reason that's so good is because it provides a perfect counterbalance, a perfect fight to the final type of villain, which would be Shigaraki. Now, I've been thinking on Shigaraki more. I've been thinking about all the League of Villains more and why they exist. And while I do believe villains like Stain, who attack the herohood of the society, though I do believe Gentle does that on a similar level, I just like Gentle's more because it seems more personal and almost logical in comparison to Stain. Where Stain was right, he didn't go about it in the right way, and I'm not exactly sure what his point was, if that makes any sense. Well, see, the reason I haven't mentioned Stain yet is because he tackled the idea of herohood being wrong, but he got so little time to do it. He came out of nowhere and was sealed away that his ramifications are fantastic and his character is fantastic. Stain himself as a whole is fantastic, but there just wasn't enough of him. There's not much I can dig into when I'm talking about Stain. When in comparison to someone like Shigaraki, I can dig into Shigaraki because he not only is he born in the society, he's a villain that became a villain because of quirks as well. The society mistreated him because, well, he murdered everyone, but that's only because of his quirk that he had absolutely no control over, only because his father was abandoned by his mother because she was afraid of All For One, who was born into society because of course. Shigaraki is the ultimate culmination of every single bit of the My Hero Academia world that can form a villain. And that is, that's a different level of writing. That's a next level type of writing. But the reason I don't rate Shigaraki that high, I don't rate a lot of the League of Villains specifically that high, is because I don't know what Shigaraki wants to do. Well, I understood what Genta wanted to do. Genta wanted to become famous to leave his mark in history in order to get back at the world which wronged him. Overhaul wanted to take control of the world in order to reinstate his people back at the top where it belonged because he believed that his people were wrong. Shigaraki wants to destroy the world. Because it wronged him. But what's the plan afterwards? I don't know. And that may be me missing a part of Shigaraki. But the thing is, since that isn't clearly laid out, Shigaraki, the League of Villains, and honestly, Stain and his followers made a big mistake because they don't necessarily have a plan. The reason the era of chaos was so bad and made the hero system pop up to the level that it did was because things were chaotic. There was no balance. There was no equality, regardless of whether or not you had a quirk or not. It was just a mess all around. And that's why I think that while the world of chaos and the era of chaos is an interesting topic that I hope gets tackled one day in like a My Hero Academia prequel, or even in a time skip where we get, I'm gonna keep mentioning the time skip, I will, but in an era where we can see what it's like, because Shigaraki, as amazing as he is, as great as the culmination as he is of My Hero Academia and its world, the problem with quirks, the problem with the world, the problem with Hero Society, as great as all that is, Shigaraki himself lacks focus. He lacks reason. He doesn't lack determination, obviously, but I don't know what Shigaraki fights for, and that's the biggest issue I can present with him. The moment I get a time where Shigaraki, whether it be because he's won, or in a flashback with One For All, or with a flashback with the League of Villains, where I understand what he wants to do other than destroy the world around him, then he can get pushed up higher. But right now, we're in a really weird spot where I don't know what Shigaraki wants to do, I don't know how he plans to accomplish it, and he's currently getting hijacked by All For One. We're in a real interesting spot. But once again, back to My Hero Academia villains as a whole, I think they're fantastic. I think they're great at working with the world itself, that each one tugs at another. The four My Hero Academia villain greats, Gentle, Stain, Overhaul, and Shigaraki, all work fantastically because they tie into the world. The reason lesser villains, or lesser antagonists really, I'm thinking, because those are really the four main villains. I'm not sure what other villains that are left other than All For One, but we got so little of All For One that I can't really talk on him. And all the other lesser villains, like your Togas, like your Twices, like your Dabis, they don't have much either. At least right now, in terms of they all want to do Stain things, but that's about it. They're all following Shigaraki, but Shigaraki is walking a path to nowhere. So that's the only issue I have with the current biggest bad villain right now. He's walking a path to nowhere, and I'd say all three other major villains are still better than Shigaraki. I'm not sure if I said that in my tier list video, but thinking on it now, I'd say all three major villains are better than Shigaraki. This video was weird. I kind of just went on the big three that I prefer a lot. But those are the main villains I want to talk about, because like I said, My Hero Academia is full of villains, and not all of them exactly get used that well or at all. So there's my point. Tell me what you guys think about villains. Tell me what you guys think about villains in the comment section down below. It's from My Hero Academia. I feel like they're very, very good. Like, I feel like, what do you guys think are better? Here's a specific question I want to ask y'all. Do you think the hero side of the world is better, or do you think the villain side of the world is better in terms of character? Not like who's better philosophically or ideologically, but in terms of character and reasoning behind their characters as a whole, who do you think is better? Heroes versus villains. Please Tell me in the comment section down below. Thank you guys so much for watching. Please like, share, comment, and subscribe. And I hope you guys have a wonderful day. This is That Guy with a Pencil, writing off.